So category education, I'll make it really clear. I'm quite a simple guy. I'm not the smartest, but one thing I know is that education for us, as I'm assuming there's lots of brand owners in the room, education on the category or the drink that we produce, I mean, that is just the thing that we know, right? That's the thing that we're passionate about. So if anything, the education and telling people about the category that we serve, for me, that is probably the best differentiation you can have over any competitor. If you know your product and you know your category better than anyone else, and you're willing to go the extra mile to show that and to present that to buyers and to wholesalers, then I think that's going to stand us in very good stead. So who am I? Why am I up here? So I make a British brandy. Yeah, I know people are falling over already. But brandy for me is a category that, when we talk about education, it virtually has none. Okay, so you think about the size of the brandy category globally, and we talk about the educators in the category. Yes, you have cognac, of course you have cognac, but who are cognac serving? Who are the brands serving in cognac? They're kind of serving themselves a little bit, right? I am almost so amazed as a brandy producer when I go and speak to sommeliers or I go and speak to distributors or anyone like that, that people don't even know that brandy comes from wine. And we are talking like 101 in terms of education here. So for me, that represents a huge opportunity to, in some ways, as a brandy brand with a distillery where we make brandy in London, that we can almost kind of look to own the category a little bit. So that's one of the things I would want you to take from today, is if you are producing your own liquid and you know your own liquid, then think about how you can use the gaps in the market and use education to actually get your point across and, in a way, start to make more noise than the size of the business. So this is just a little bit about where we are. So we have a 5,500 square foot space in Walthamstow in London. We have a Chianti pot still that was imported over from cognac. So, like, why have we done that? Why have I kind of, spent all the money on bringing that to life? Because for me, as an educator, it's a school, right? As an educator, I need to be able to bring people to my school to be able to tell them and educate them about what we're doing and about why what we're doing is different to, again, I'll compare it to cognac, and how what we do is very different to cognac. So this is like my marketing strategy. I've obviously learned a lot from Ben's there in terms of marketing strategy, but educate and elevate are the two things that's all we do. As a brand, that's all we do. And as a brand that's only launched in the last 6 months, we're very much still in the education phase. Now, obviously, being in brandy and being in aged spirits, the elevate and the luxury end of things, we can't ignore that. But certainly, as we just try to establish ourselves and try to act as the voice for kind of like, new world brandy, that we focus on the education part. And I think as we grow and as we develop as a brand, that we will kind of start to move more towards the elevation rather than doing all the education all the time. And who are we educating? Now, a friend of mine who's a chef kind of did an example of, imagine if I had someone working in my kitchen and they didn't know what a carrot was, right? And I thought about that, and I let that sunk in, and that applies so much to our industry and what we do and working with bartenders, because the reality is, if you haven't educated somebody on your product and what goes into it and what the raw material of your product is, then how on earth do they know how to pair it with things? And I'm amazed when I go into bars and I speak to people about brandy or any category that I've worked in the last 20 years, that they don't know what the raw materials of things are. They don't know the backbone of the actual liquid. So I let that sink in about, how necessary it is to educate people. But we've got to do all these people, right, which isn't easy. But as I said before, knowledge is power. So actually, if you've got the knowledge, that can spread and that can evolve to service all these people with just a few examples. So again, I've got this lovely logo, so I operate everything in fours, right? Just to make my life a lot easier. So what are our challenges in brandy? Because I think, again, I'm using that as a de facto for any category. So I'm sure this works, whether it works in mezcal, it works in wine, it works in anything. So lack of knowledge. So there's a good representation of somebody I think has a definite lack of knowledge. So that's a big challenge for us. The power of cognac. So as I said before, for me, the appellation for cognac is it's great for cognac, it's terrible for everybody else. Because what it's become now in terms of the brandy world is cognac is the definition of now become the definition of quality, as opposed to originally being about protecting the provenance. When maybe I'll put a few noses out of joint, that's just simply not true. Like there's a million ways that you can make great brandy that's outside of cognac. So therefore, as I've said, the perception of liquid is greatly impacted because of lack of knowledge, because of the power of cognac, and then distinct lack of leadership as well. That's another great example of an awful leader. So for me, what I mean by that is, as a category, is are you organised? And if you're not organised, that represents a huge challenge for a huge challenge, but also an opportunity, because can you actually be the one who is the leader? Can you be the one that does organise and control other brands and act as the mouthpiece? So how do we solve those things? For me, and what I've done, and I guess here what you guys are doing as well, is how do you solve the lack of knowledge where you create that school, as I was just explaining to the lady there. You create the school when you create new experiences. You do that on and offline. So for us, the online is obviously social media. Doesn't cost us much just to tell people about what we do. And the offline obviously is our distillery. Get people to the distillery, get people to the bar if you don't have a distillery, make a venue where people can come and learn about what you do. The liquid is so important. That gets forgotten about when you're creating a brand, I think. The liquid is obviously vital in how you explain the liquid. But, a big thing, as I said, I'm a simple guy. Don't patronise people because, again, when you are trying to educate people, sometimes it can come across as a bit preachy. So we have to kind of watch how we tread there. So, again, how do we tackle the thing about something like cognac or an appellation? For me, the best example of people that have done that is New World Whiskey. So New World Whiskey, as an example, has stepped itself outside of Scotch, obviously, but people are listening now. People are taking New World Whiskies very seriously, and they're taking them seriously because they're having fun and they're doing a really, really good job in creating like new innovations, new liquids, new barrels, new barrel aging. All those things are kind of moving towards, respecting Scotch, but also now creating their own category. So that's a big influence for us, and it should be for you too. Liquid on lips, I'm sure Lindsay's going to speak about the importance of that. That's why we're here, right? But when you talk about liquid on lips, it's like you've got to go to the source. Like, you've got to be in the bars day in, day out. There's no shortcuts for that, especially when you're a new brand. But make it easy to explain. Like, please make your proposition like one sentence. For us as a brandy. For me, it's like we make our brandy with 4 different wines and we age in 4 different oak casks. Now, if they want to know what those oak casks are and they want to know what the wine is, then yeah, okay, we'll sit down and we'll talk a bit more. But in that one sentence, what I've done is I've taken it away from where the guy thought I was going. All right, and now I've got his attention. So deconstruct the liquid. Experiment as a brand owner. Don't be scared just to have some fun with it. Like the more cool, innovative liquids that we make, the more attention that we're going to get to the category, the more we're going to educate. All right? And kind of like lastly, leading into it, like lead the category. Like no one's going to stop you from putting out a PR plan, from putting out a PR brief to somebody saying that I want to talk about the category. If anything, the press and the drinks press, they want to hear from the little guys. They want to hear what you're doing. All right, so don't be scared to try and take the bull by the horns, right? And also, don't be scared to organise people around you. Like, yes, okay, so you might have some competitors, but those competitors probably when you club together, that's actually then becomes something way more powerful. So for me in brandy, that's one of our main objectives is to start to do that and start to cajole people outside of cognac to get organised. And just lastly, like stand for better. Like you know, we're all here. We've all put our money. We've all sunk everything that we have into making a brand, right? So let's tell people about it, all right? And just create as much noise as you can, all right? Don't, as I said, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. I've been there and I've got things wrong, but don't be scared about creating noise, all right? That's me. Thank you.